The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Center to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, here are a few ways that you can do it. Download the Living Zen podcast app for iPod, iPhone, or Android. You can also purchase additional Zen Talks by Venerable Eshu on iTunes or Amazon.com. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by joining our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online eZendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at www.zenwest.ca and click on the membership tab. Thank you for your support. What we're engaging in here on a Tuesday night or any time with a Zen center, we can think of it as meditation. We can think of it as Zen practice. But I think the word that most accurately describes what we're doing when we come here is training. Each of us comes with our whole selection of habits, the things that we prefer and the things that we would prefer to avoid. The things that we like and the things that we don't like. The things that we want and the things that we want to be away from. Now, it's the teaching of Buddhism that this desire, this wanting, both wanting the things that we think will make us feel better and wanting to be free or to be away from the things that we think will make us worse off, this fundamental desire is the foundation of suffering. Now, this is a teaching from the first discourse of the historical Buddha Shakyamuni. This form that we use, the community, the Sangha that we practice in, and the teaching that's offered here is all aimed at penetrating, investigating this teaching. Liberation from suffering. Every aspect of form, every aspect of practice is aimed at this fundamental principle. We walk around in our lives and we think we're aware. We think that we're awake. And yet each of us spends the vast majority of our life asleep, constantly chasing after the things that we think will fix us up, make us happy, make us comfortable, looking for ways that we can do it our way, or trying to avoid the things that make us uncomfortable, difficulty, discomfort, ugliness. The form of practice is not here to make you comfy. It's not here so that you can engage in doing things your way. You notice that the members all have these kind of funny pajama outfits on. I don't think that any of them, given complete freedom, discretion of what they're going to wear today, would slap that puppy on. Why do they wear it? When we come here, we're coming to investigate this thing that we call I. This thing that we call me, that manifests entirely as a selection of habits, choices, preferences, and aversions. This is how we identify who it is that we think we are. And when we come to engage in this practice, what we're doing is putting ourselves into a crucible where we're offered the opportunity to ask, who am I? Beyond the habits, beyond the preferences, beyond the aversions, what is my original nature? And so we come into this matrix of practice, guidelines, and rules. And I don't care who you are, but something about this practice is going to rub you the wrong way. Something about this practice is going to set you up on an edge and go, oh, I really don't like that. It might be the chanting you don't like. It might be the bowing you don't like. It might be the having to keep your hands in a nice, round, aware mudra that you don't like. But this is essentially what we are here to investigate. How is it that our preferences and aversions lead us to suffer? Each and every one of us comes with a different package, a different burden. And as we walk into the door of the meditation hall, we're asked to bring our hands together, palm to palm, and bow. And this single activity, as we enter the door, is a practice of letting go. Letting go of this separation, this distance between inside and outside, subject and object, person and environment, becoming one. Leave this big fat I am at the door. As we enter into practice, the fundamental principle of group practice is harmony. Letting go into the harmonious function of training. As we chant, we'll observe that there are times when we're making sound with our voice and body, and everything dissolves into a harmonious whole. In fact, it's very difficult to recognize this because we ourselves have also gone, completely dissolved into the sound. And it's only a moment later when the activity has turned and we have stepped back that we can look and say, where did I go? Who was it that was chanting? And it's in this space where the arising of desire and aversion manifest. I like chanting. I don't like chanting. This activity happens when we're walking as well. As we walk, we can completely let go of our separate self, dissolve into the activity of this single body of practice, walking. There's no problem. There's no out of step. There's no out of sync. There's no loss of balance. We are swept along as one with the activity of walking. And then in just a hair's breadth moment, we separate again. And we are able to perceive ourselves and everybody around us walking. We like it or we don't like it. As we sit, especially as we sit for longer periods or for more periods, we can definitely like or not like any given period of meditation practice. We can definitely be comfortable or uncomfortable in so many ways in a single period of meditation practice. And this isn't an accident. It's not good if we're comfortable and bad if we're uncomfortable, because it is the nature of our practice to investigate this self that is arising. How do we hold what is uncomfortable? How do we hold what it is that we think we'd rather be rid of? How do we meet situations desirable and undesirable? Are we chasing anything? Are we running away from anything? Fundamentally, our practice is to investigate how to awaken to this unfolding activity of our life. Whenever we get into a situation of desire, where we separate from things, from our environment, take ourselves as being separate from them, and therefore lacking what we perceive as being outside of us, we're losing contact, we're losing awareness of this fundamentally unfolding activity, which is our life. We're cutting it up into small bits and mistaking something which is fundamentally whole for a bunch of broken up, separate objects. Likewise, when there is something that we see that we want to avoid, an experience that we think we'd be better off without, we have once again taken whole cloth and chopped it up into little bits. So this is why I talk about this practice as training. This is our natural kind of diluted functioning. Constantly taking this unbroken whole and thinking of it as distinct sort of containers. And after even a short time of investigating this practice, we develop our own experience of wholeness. Whether it's through our chanting, whether it's through our walking or sitting or bowing. Each of us in our lives can also see this experience through our art, through our music, through our work. And so our fundamental practice becomes developing this awareness of when we're perceiving things as broken. And the training comes in because we become able to turn, to let go of this position of divisiveness and return to the perspective of wholeness. Now, when I talk about this in practice, when I talk about this as we sit, I talk about it in terms of coming home, finding your true home. So this is a question that we can ask as we practice that reminds us to return to wholeness. Where is my true home? These reminders that we get, if I'm correcting you about posture, correcting about form, or simply saying, wake up, they surprise us, they catch us off, thinking about this and that, chasing after this, running away from that, and they ask us to come home. Each of us, if we're interested in waking up, that is, must engage in this kind of training wholeheartedly. It's not just about coming and sitting and relaxing. It's not just about sharing some space and time with friends. Zen practice, Zen Buddhism, is the practice of bodhisattvas, wisdom beings. And it's the vow of the bodhisattva to be of benefit to all beings. Awareness, this fundamental awareness of wholeness, our true home, is the basis of bodhisattva practice. And it is in this fundamental awareness that we train.
Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.